Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 107. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Part 1. Xi'an, the capital of the current Chinese government. All the government agencies were located there. Naturally, the State Council, the central institution of the government, was also located there. Besides, there were 300 buildings for policy institutions. In front of the Ministry of National Defense building, on the southwest side of the State Council. Like the Ministry of National Defense, the entrance was guarded by military police officers and other officers in various military uniforms. All walking back and forth. There was a middle-aged man standing in front of the building with a dissatisfied face. Wearing a neat white uniform, he was Zhang Pyonggak of the Wudong clan. "You can't get in without a permission pass, huh?" Zhang Pyonggak expressed his frustration to another middle-aged man standing in front of him. The middle-aged man was wearing a fancy luxury suit and sunglasses. "I know. Mr. Zhang." The middle-aged man was Tang Moonsu, the vice president of Dang Pharmaceuticals. He is an orthodox descendant of the Tang family. What was the reason for the two most influential executives of the Murim Association to come here? Why the hell was Director O so furious? No idea. The director they were talking about is O Taechung, the head of the Ministry of Murim. The two had come to meet O Taechung and pressure him regarding the demonic cult's movements. But at that time O Taechung was absent. All they heard was that he had run over to the Ministry of National Defense in anger. This is hard. The situation seems to be serious. If O Taechung was enraged, that meant that something had happened. Although he was close to the Murim Association, that man was a politician. And a demanding person. My bones hurt. Why are all these things happening so fast after each other? Zhang Pyonggak was puzzled at Tang Moonsu's words and asked. "What do you mean?" I will let you know." "About what?" "There seems to be a quarrel within the Moyong Company." "Moyong Company?" Zhang Pyonggak was surprised. It was known that the 5 great clans' descendants usually came to the Murim Association's gatherings. So information naturally flowed between them. Since Chairman Moyong fell into a coma, there have been disputes between the two sons over the succession. Hold on. The Moyong Company's successor was already decided on, right? As far as he knew, the eldest son and the managing director was the successor. He heard that there was a second son, who was once called a genius, but then the kid suddenly lost his martial arts due to an unknown reason. It seems like the second son was able to regain his martial arts skills. What? You know that a dantian could never form again once destroyed, right? How did that happen? Zhang Pyonggak asked. He was there when the chairman Moyong asked him for a favor in therapy. He couldn't treat the child, so how did that kid regain his martial arts? I don't know. But the recovered skills aren't normal, Director. The conversation stopped. It was because O Taechung, the head of the Ministry of Murim, came out. The man was at a loss for what to do. Damn it. Despite being in front of another building, he didn't seem to hide his true feelings. The man was visibly angry. Tatak. The two people from the association immediately went to him and greeted him. "We greet you, Director." "Director, this is Zhang Pyonggak of the Wudong clan." O Taechung frowned as he looked at them. He just remembered that he had a meeting with them. But more importantly, he was angry. "You too. What have you done?" "Huh?" The two men were dumbfounded at the ambiguous question. It wasn't that they didn't understand, it was more like they couldn't figure out what he was referring to, so O Taechung added. "What the hell did you do, so that the Ministry of National Defense is acting like that?" "Director. We don't understand what you are talking." Give it here. Oh Tae-chung reached his hand out to the female secretary next to him and then took a hard case file. Oh Tae-chung, who took it, almost threw it at the two. What is this? That is an official announcement letter from the National Defense. Announcement? The two were puzzled and looked at the file. However, after looking at its content, their expressions turned more stiff. This, what the hell? The contents of the letter stated that the Ministry of National Defense has signed an alliance with the Yongchun Group. If gate defense battles were to occur in the future, it would no longer be possible to engage in the battles without the Ministry of National Defense's permission. When did the demonic cult bastards get this done? It was like lightning had struck them. Jag Pyonggak was the first to speak. Director, this is absurd. The Yongchun is from the demonic cult. Don't you know? Who doesn't know that? What the hell did you people do to make them end up joining hands with the defense? At those words, the two couldn't say anything. They were here to ask the Murim department to pressure the cult because half their executives were not present. Now isn't the time to judge the right and wrong. The party judged this situation to be serious. Not being able to defend the gate defense battles meant that the Murim Association's core supply and demand was going to be cut off. In addition, the reason the Murim Association affiliated companies have always walked proudly was because they have been contributing to the defense. Director, we need to stop it right now. If the demonic cult and the defense join hands, it will be a huge blow to both us and the Ministry of Murim. If the influence of the Ministry of Murim decreased, the position of the association would decrease as well. Oh Tae-chung spoke to Tang Moon-soo with a harsh face. Well, we are late. It was already reported to the State Council and passed. Tang Moon-soo and Kong Pyonggak's faces distorted at the same time. If it was passed by the council, it meant that the majority had accepted it. And there were already many people who didn't like the Ministry of Murim. No. This was the worst. Now they found out why Oh Tae-chung was angry. Hack. Oh Tae-chung went closer and poked Tang Moon-soo's chest with his fingers as he spoke in a raspy voice. We need to come up with a countermeasure right away. Otherwise, all vested interests in the association will be in vain. The association who came here to lighten their burden only received more. A holographic meeting in a dark conference room. The present holograms were the executives of the Murim Association. Even with the loss of the Murim Association main office, the meeting could be held. Now that things have become like this, how can the chairman and vice chairman be absent? The atmosphere was serious. It was because of the shocking news delivered by the two who visited the Ministry of Murim. They had to come up with a solution, but the most important people were absent. The chairman was in a closed-door training and the vice chairman was away on a business trip. Where are they in such a frustrating situation? Did you tell them that we were meeting for this situation? Of course, I informed them. However, the only answer which came back from the Ocean Group was that they couldn't interfere with their chairman's closed-door training. Despite how critical the situation was. That was what made the other executives burst out in anger. If that's the case, the meeting cannot proceed. How about changing the chairman for the time being? You are talking about the chairman of the association? At that comment, everyone's faces darkened. They too felt that someone had to be held accountable. However, it was quite difficult to bring down the chairman right now. The Ocean Group boasted the most undeniable power in the current Murim. Mr. Jang. There are 3 years left for the position of chairman, is it possible? It was Haiwan of a Mei clan. What do you mean? I agree with what Mr. Jang has said. Isn't the chairman always sending his representative to every meeting since last year? Does it make sense to not attend such a crucial meeting? Is he so busy that he can't even appear through a hologram? Namgungo of the Namgung clan agreed. As the opinions were divided, the meeting proceeded in a way to remove the current chairman. It was then. Click. The hologram device at the top seat was activated. A middle-aged man with big ears and thick lips appeared. With a fairly unusual face, he was Mun Il Hyang, the chairman of the Ocean Group and the chairman of the Murim Association. Chairman. The executives who were still fighting were shocked. Jang Pyonggak, who was arguing so strongly till then, went silent. Pak. Mu Il Hyang spoke right away. Mun Il Hyang greets the executives of the association. It has been a while since I last saw you, and I feel very responsible for this situation. In a nasty voice, Namgungo said. It is really hard to see your face, Chairman. Well, I am a warrior, you see. What is that supposed to mean? I couldn't just give up on the newly acquired realization. At those words, everyone went stiff. They thought there would be some improvement in the closed room training, but they didn't think he would attain some realization. More? How strong is he trying to be? Although Mun Il Hyang stopped reporting to the Ministry of Murim, he was the strongest person in Murim. Even among the other 5 great warriors, he was the best. Rather than that, Chairman. What should we do with this? It seems like the ministry is shaken to the extent that they aren't talking with the association. Jang Pyonggak changed the topic. Since this was a hologram, the jealousy couldn't be seen. Jealousy of the chairman who was now stronger. Well, it is our Murim Association's job to prevent the demonic cult from growing. What do we do? Right now, even the Ministry of National Defense is taking their side. Well, I just got some information. At Mun Il Hyang's words, everyone was shocked. When Mun Il Hyang pressed some buttons, a huge screen shone. It was an underground high-speed train. Unlike the ordinary ones, this only had 5 compartments, and they weren't numbered. This? Train? The executives were not sure about what they were seeing. At that, Mun Il Hyang smiled and said, It is the mobile prison which holds the demonic cult's lord. Demonic cult. At those words, the others couldn't hide their shock. Most of the executives knew that Chun Wu Jin, the lord of demonic cult, was in some secret prison, but not an underground train. How did you get it? I am in charge of guarding the mobile prison at the request of the prosecutor's office. The one in charge of the security. The executives were perplexed at the words of the chairman who just revealed it. Mun Il Hyang spoke to them. Only me and the bailiff who gave the sentence know about this train. But this morning, a man disappeared. So? It has to be the work of the cult. Then, we need to stop them right away. Yes. Those demonic cult people would try to break him out, Shocked by the news, the executives started clamoring for the need to stop the cult, but they then went silent. They were all looking at each other with the same thought. Mun Il Hyang smiled and said, Shouldn't the government and the civilians be shown just how dangerous the demonic cult is? Main office of Yongchun Group, Jinan City. Senior executives, including the chairman, Chen Yujang, couldn't hold back their joy. The reason was that they managed to find the whereabouts of the Lord Chun Wu Jin, whom they were looking for. Hang your in. You really worked hard. It was nothing. Chairman. Chen Yujang praised the woman. Based on the information that the 2 companies gathered and the information in the hands of the Great Guardian, she managed to find the bailiff who was in charge of the sentence. The bailiff, who was escorted into the Yongchun Group, refused to open his mouth and was ready to die. However, unfortunately, that didn't happen. A convenient ability. Chen Yuan made the man a ghost and read his memories. They managed to discover that he was in an underground train. However, they now had to rescue the man. Finally, we will be able to bring back our lord. The executives all rose up and congratulated Chen Yujang. There was a sense of haste, still, they knew just how difficult it would be to get their lord from the prison. Hubong, Mariun and Shakina went to rescue him. Shakina had her phasing ability. If the three went in, then it would be an easy task. Now we are getting closer. Even without Chen Yuan, there were plenty of talented people. They must have got him by now, Huan Miango said while checking the clock. The underground train would reach Zugushi at 12 o'clock. According to the information they got, the train runs non-stop for 12 hours and stops for 20 minutes to shift the workers. Ting. The smartphone of Huan Miango rang. A text flew in. Huan Miango, who saw that, went stiff. What is it? At the chairman's question, Huan Miango said, I think we should watch TV right away. TV? Huan Miango hurriedly got up and switched it on. And the screen shone. He immediately changed it to a new channel which was reporting breaking news while standing in front of the State Council. As reported by our correspondent, the judicial authorities of the State Council have decided to proceed with the execution of Chen Wu-jin, the former chairman of the Black Sky Company, at 6 o'clock. He is the worst criminal who caused the bloody death of the president 27 years ago. The perpetrator, Chen Wu-jin. What is this? Chen Yuzhang and the executives who were watching it couldn't hide their disbelief. Chen Wu-jin, who was a death row inmate, was given life in prison. Now they wanted him executed. Besides, this sentence will be carried out in a judicial prison under the State Council in an unusual. It was said that the execution would be carried out by the State Council. Chen Yuan narrowed his eyes. He tried various things to make sure people didn't know about the mission, but it seemed like it was found out, and rather soon. Too fast. Things were progressing too fast. If this was exposed to the public like this, even if the man was brought out of the prison, people would look at them negatively. At that moment, Chen Yuan heard something. Lord. It was Hubong. It was through a nanobomb which was placed inside. Inside whom the nanobomb was placed? How did it happen? Hubong spoke in a confused voice. Lord. There are other prisoners here, but not the current lord. What? Did that mean that Chen Wu-jin was pulled out? Something felt wrong. According to the bailiff's memories, the train would travel in different routes, so there were fixed stops. And the only stop was the station where Hubong was now at, so it was impossible to get the current lord out. Do you know if the train has stopped somewhere? The prisoners say that the train hasn't stopped in 12 hours. At those words, Chen Yuan's brows rose. Ha! Chen Yuan sighed and looked at the State Council building. Everyone was puzzled when Chen Yuan sighed when he said, We were lied to. What do you mean? Chen Yuan answered Chen Yuzhang's question with irritation. The train was fake. The current lord was never in a mobile prison from the start. What? At the same time. The Murim Association meeting. Mun Ilhyang spoke in a happy voice. They must be out of their minds. There is no lord in the prison at all. There is no way they can get the man before the execution. Hoo. The kidnapped bailiff had the wrong information, so it was no use to torture him and get information. Indeed, our chairman. The Murim Association executives were satisfied. It felt like they were having a cool sip of cider in the hot sun. Tang Munsu opened his mouth. I think this has limited their options. In order to save their lord, will they try and rescue him at the cost of being seen badly by the world again? Or boldly let the man die? Haha. Such a plan. They knew that the cult wasn't blind to the existence of their lord. And if they do something wrong to bring back their lord, people will remember everything that happened 27 years back. Cool, public execution by the State Council. The others acknowledged it too. If they try to bring the man from the judicial prison of the State Council, then the demonic cult won't only get bad complaints from the people, but also anger from the government. At that time, Jang Pyonggak asked, "What if they give up on their lord?" Mun Ilhyang smiled and said, "Hoo, don't worry. One way or another, the next day demonic cult will be a felony group trying to free the worst criminal." Chapter 108. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Part 2. Conference room of Yongchun Group, Jinan City. When the executives found out that the prison was fake, they couldn't contain their anger. Who would have imagined that the bailiff was giving them wrong information? "We can't let the Lord be executed. We need to rescue him now." Huan Myung-o spoke with a look of resentment. "I understand the sentiment, but this is a clear trap." It was clearly a trap laid for the Sky Demon Order. And most importantly, the execution was decided by the State Council, the place where the government stood. If they tried to rescue their lord out from such a place, the bad relationship with the government would be obvious. "But you're saying we are going to stand by the execution as they want to?" "He is the lord. He is the head of the Sky Demon Order." Seo Hyun, the head of internal inspection, who had a rather aggressive tendency, raised his voice. And the answer was given by Hang Yurin. "Calm down. You know that Director Huan didn't mean that." "Huh. If we rescue our lord, everyone will believe that what happened in the past was our doing. If that happens, the agreement with the Ministry of National Defense will be broken." What the enemies were aiming for is clear. It was to force the government to cancel the agreement. They could ask the Ministry of National Defense to push hard, but if the cult decided to go in and rescue their lord, the ministry would receive condemnation from the State Council. How dare they do such tricks? Chen Yujang was the one who was upset the most. He felt that it was a great disgrace to his father, and the lord of the cult, to be executed by the enemies in such a cowardly way. "Is that all?" Chen Yoan, who was listening to the conversation, spoke for the first time. All eyes were focused on him. "What about you?" Chen Yoan asked by Mak Hien, who was next to him. The man opened his mouth, holding back his anger. "This isn't simply a matter of whether we can rescue or not." "What is that now?" Huan Myung-o asked. "Their true intentions may lie elsewhere." "True intentions?" "Their purpose is to make our cult shown to the government and public. And it isn't difficult to sway the public opinion and make it look like we invaded the State Council. But it isn't easy either." "Huh." By Mak Hien's words, the executives sighed. In the past, the president's spilled blood was blamed on their lord, and that happened because of their foolishness. Even if they don't rescue their lord, the result would be the same. Indeed, that was what they aimed for. A dilemma. No matter what choice they made, the cult would look bad. Is there no other way out? Bai Mak Hien shook his head at Chen Yujang's question. "I think we will have to choose the less evil-looking option." "Huh. It means to knowingly head into a trap. If there was no choice but to enter the trap of the enemy, then it would be better to rescue the Lord at all costs." "I apologize." With that, Bai Mak Hien had a hard time finding a solution. After the Murim Association managed to report the news of execution through news, they will now keep an eye on the Yongchun Group and the Sky Demon Order. Whether the cult will come to the State Council or not. While everyone was shocked, Chen Yoan spoke. "Are you going to move according to the choices the enemy gave us?" "Sorry?" All the executives were puzzled. The number of enemies they were dealing with was huge. And they had no choice but to move in the way the enemies had shown them. "But Ancestor, there is no other way to take. To save the Lord without it affecting the cult in any way. If you were trying to find an answer in the framework they made, there will be no answer." Then? With narrowed eyes, Chen Yoan spoke to Chen Yujang and the other executives. Remember, when you are attacked by an enemy, it is common sense to attack back. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The execution day of Chen Wu-jin, the former chairman of the Black Sky Company. The execution was blindfold firing, the orthodox Chinese method. Thanks to the title of mass murderer, all the public attention was focused here. 2 hours before the execution, inside the judicial prison in the judicial building. On the prison's rooftop, someone was smoking and speaking on the phone. Yes, yes. I have placed it as you said. The man was dressed as the bailiff of the prison while he spoke in a hoarse voice. The name on the badge was Pan Junyoung. Looking at the rank, he seemed to be the deputy of the prison. There was no problem, right? A modulated voice through the speaker. It was quite a suspicious voice, but Pan Junyoung answered normally. Most of them were badged as people from the western side, so it doesn't matter what is planned. Being able to handle prisoners in the prison meant that it didn't matter if anyone was killed. Then, when will I have to start it? The plan will be put to motion in 10 minutes before execution. All right. Click. With that said, the phone was hung up. Pan Junyoung mumbled as he wrapped his smartphone onto his wrist. The second blood after the president. The only surviving person in the prison is the deputy. The best case scenario for him. When that is done, he will be able to get a promotion. 30 minutes before the execution. Numerous military people stood guard around the judicial prison. Reporters from various media organizations gathered around to cover the news. This was flashy enough to attract the foreign media too. The topic of the execution of the culprit who murdered of the President of China and the Prime Minister of Russia and other senior officials of the nations. The execution room on the first basement floor of the prison. An old man with a prison uniform and a number in red was walking. The old man was Chen Wu-jin. He is the current lord of the Sky Demon Order and the former chairman of the Black Sky Company. Step. Step. Powerless steps. His eyes, which had been imprisoned for 27 years, were in a state of despair and hopelessness. Pack. Quack. Walk straight. Prisoner 205. One of the prison guards kicked the man. He used to be a confident man, but being subjected to the same treatment for 27 years, he gave in. Just a bit more. Chen Wu-jin was also longing for his death. In a life full of disgrace, he thought that it would be better for him to die than hold on to his life. Chen Wu-jin stood in front of the firing squad. The bailiffs tied him up with ropes to keep him from moving. Eyes, you won't cover the eyes? Chen Wu-jin asked in a hoarse voice. Even if he was on death row, people had their eyes covered in respect to human rights. The bailiff kicked the man and said, "Criminals like you can't have wishes. You deserve to die while savoring the pain of death." He had now to be in pain. Huh. Chen Wu-jin sighed inside. He wasn't afraid of death, but he wasn't interested in arguing in the last moments. Chen Wu-jin looked at the electric clock in the room. 17:48. In 15 minutes, his damn life would end. He felt sad, but he had no way out. So he quietly closed his eyes and began to memorize the sutras of the Sky Demon Order. I have no regrets in life or death as this one body is set on fire. Let the light shine on the way I want to do, and joy and sorrow will be all but dust. Pitiful living beings who are troubled. Although he brought disgrace to the Sky Demon Order in his time, he only wanted to make sure the new lord of the cult would bring light again onto the cult. There were people watching him through the glass door. Although they were wearing the clothes of a bailiff, they were unusual for some reason. And one of them said, "You made a surprisingly cold decision. Demonic cult. I know, right? I thought they would do unreasonable things to save their lord, but they aren't idiots, I guess. Well, it wasn't like we didn't predict this case. They were all prepared in case the cult had appeared here. It was their order to annihilate every single member of the cult in the judicial prison. I thought I wouldn't be able to use it, but turns out there was an opportunity right here. They even learned martial arts from the demonic cult. From here, it was their job to leave traces of the demonic cult in the place. And the time was 1750. Should we start now? Shoo. They took masks out of their pockets and put them on. One of the masked men touched an earpiece and spoke. It's time. Click. Roger. Wing. As soon as the answer came, all the CCTVs in the room turned on the red light and went off. Not just the CCTVs in the prison, but everywhere around the prison. It was to leave no evidence. Let's start, shall we? They opened the glass door and entered the firing range. Click. The bailiffs, who were inside, couldn't hide their shock when masked men came in. What? Why are you all wearing masks? For this reason. Pang. Quack. One of the bailiffs was shot in the chest by the masked man and pushed away. The bailiff was killed right away. Why? You bastards. In a panic, the bailiffs in the range pulled out their guns and aimed theirs at the masked people. But they couldn't do much since the masked people were warriors. It isn't even a machine gun, what can you even do? Hee hee. Papa. They opened fire towards the bailiffs. The bailiffs panicked and fired back, but the masked men dodged the bullets and shot them back. Quack. UK. In an instant, 4 bailiffs were killed. What are you doing? The bailiff, who was standing in front of Chun Wu Jin, couldn't hide his shock at what happened. It was the same with Chun Wu Jin, but he was shocked for another reason. It is my cult's martial arts. The martial arts used by the masked people belong to the Sky Demon Order. He knew the martial arts thoroughly, so he recognized them at a glance. 8 masked men approached Chun Wu Jin, who was tied. Why you men? You are here to rescue this one. The only surviving bailiff put his gun at Chun Wu Jin. At that time, Chun Wu Jin bit the man's hand. Bite. Quack. You bastard. He bit so hard that the flesh ripped off from his hand and the gun fell down. The moment he was about to pick it. Slash. Quack. A sword flew for the bailiff's head. Chun Wu Jin spit the flesh out. Huh. This was the one thing Chun Wu Jin wanted to do before his death. He had been harassed quite a lot by his bailiff. The masked man went to him and said, Pack. We greet the Lord. There was a weird sense of playfulness in the eyes of those who greeted him. As they instilled hope, the feelings inside Chun Wu Jin turned more miserable. However, Chun Wu Jin couldn't be happy. Masked men. Who might you be? He inquired about their identity. He wanted to know which clan they were from, so that he would recognize the martial arts of the clan they belonged to. They answered, but Chun Wu Jin said, How dare you try to deceive the eyes of the Lord? Lord. What are you saying? I see that you are going to act like this till the end. Huh, did you think that I won't be able to recognize the clumsy martial arts that don't go with the cultivation method you use? To their surprise, Chun Wu Jin didn't buy the fact that they were members of the cult. Although they were using the martial arts of the cult, they weren't using their cultivation method. With his deep knowledge in martial arts, he was able to tell right away that the people only learned the techniques. Shit. The masked people looked at each other. If they were caught, there was no need to continue with the act. The CCTV is off anyway. The masked man, who seemed like the leader, smiled. I was told that he would be rotting, but he still possesses the eyes of the 5 great warriors. You men. Are you trying to do the same trick as before? Chun Wu Jin hadn't forgotten what happened 27 years ago. the scene of bloodshed which took place while he was away. By the time he arrived, government officials were executed and the Murim Association accused him for being the culprit. Are you going to frame the cult by making fake traces this time too? At Chen Wujin's words, the masked men laughed. And with a snort, the leader spoke. You are a man who knows that and still is trying to taunt us. I don't know if you are bold or just lost fear. Fear? Ha. Chen Wujin, who realized that he was turning angry, sighed. He wasn't afraid of death. Do you think I will be afraid? It is right to be afraid now, Lord of Demonic Cult. Because your usefulness will end as of today. The masked man approached him with a smile. The man pulled something out of his pocket, a syringe. And at that moment, Chen Wujin knew that it wasn't a good thing. Hoo, the Lord of Demonic Cult. I will pay tribute to you, the Lord of the Demonic Cult, for sacrificing yourself for the sake of justice. With those words, the man slowly opened the syringe lid and approached Chen Wujin. To watch him get afraid. At that time, Chen Wujin said something unusual. I don't know who you are, but I did what you told me to do. What? It was then. Thud. Quack. Someone fell from the ceiling of the firing range and crushed the masked man's body in a second. It was Chen Yuan who stood on the corpse of the crushed masked man. Chapter 109. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. Part 3. Ceiling? Chen Wujin was surprised by the sudden appearance of Chen Yuan and looked at the ceiling of the firing range. Except through some ventilation fans, there was no way for a person to descend from the ceiling without making gaps. How? He was puzzled for a moment when he heard the sound. Although his dantian was broken, and he couldn't feel anything, this was such an unexpected way for a person to appear. What is he? Where did he come from? Even the masked people were perplexed. It was ridiculous to believe that their leader was killed by simply being crushed to the floor. A warrior. They surrounded Chen Yuan with extreme alert. One of them spoke. Haha. This is it. You must have come to save your lord. To which Chen Yuan said. Wrong. What? Shoo. When Chen Yuan raised his hand, the syringe, which was on the floor, reached his hand. What is this? There was no way that the masked men would answer him. One of them rushed at him with energy gathered on his fist. As if I would tell you. Shoo. Puck. Quack. However, the syringe, which was now in Chen Yuan's hand, was now pierced into the masked man's forehead who approached him. Flustered, the masked man tried to pull out the syringe. Quack. Auh. However, the liquid inside the syringe was injected into the body. At that moment, the masked man's skin was dyed red. The blood vessels bulged out and then burst. Sue. Swoosh. So that's what it does. If they didn't want to answer, he could just find out by himself. This. Another colleague was easily beaten. That was when the masked men felt how dangerous the situation was. Of course, there were several countermeasures. Turn on the CCTVs. That was Plan B in case the Sky Demon Order sent their men to rescue their lord. At the gesture of one masked man, the other men rushed towards Chen Yuan at the same time. Papak. In the meantime, the masked man, who made the gesture, touched his earpiece and said, "This is the firing range. Turn on the CCTVs of this room only." Their colleagues were scattered all over the prison grounds, including the control room. It wasn't difficult to create a favorable situation. No. However, a woman's voice answered. Confused, the masked man asked, "You, who are you?" "Human, you don't need to know." Click. Quack. The masked man frowned. The problem was that the control room was occupied by an unknown person. He tried to inform his colleague in the prison site about it, and as he tried to switch channels. "Right now, grab." Quack. Someone grabbed him by the neck. It was Chun Yo-won. "What the hell are the others doing?" "Ah?" The masked man was shocked. The others were lying on the floor like dead birds. "Just when?" Chun Yo-won asked. "You were trying to get in touch with them with this?" Chun Yo-won reached for the earpiece the man was wearing. The masked man laughed. "Idiot. If you pull it out, it will self-destruct." However, the earphone didn't. What? It was crazy. It had to break once pulled. "Do you think you would be able to rectify the situation by calling your colleagues?" At Chun Yo-won's question, the masked man tried to answer, enduring the pain. "Quack. The earphone, they'll get it. Quack. Check it soon. Grab." Quack. Chun Yo-won grabbed the neck even harder. And then he put the earpiece into his ear. Was anyone listening? The earpiece was connected to various channels of all men within the prison. Chun Yo-won opened his mouth. The masked man's shock increased. "Ah. Ah. Is this the voice?" To his surprise, the voice coming from Chun Yo-won's mouth was his own voice. No way. Chun Yo-won had the ability to modulate his voice with Nano's help. Chun Yo-won spoke. "This is the firing range. They showed up, I got them all, but missed 2 guys. They need to be caught." It looked to be some kind of plan, but the masked man couldn't figure it out. Sending a message to his colleagues to search for 2 members of the cult. It seemed like a sloppy plan. Why is the radio? He was puzzled, but Chun Yo-won smiled and said, "If that's the case, no one should escape, right?" The masked man's eyes widened. Come to think of it, if such a message was sent, no one in the site would be able to retreat until those who fled were caught. Chun Yo-won's goal was to get rid of every single one of them. Without hesitating, Chun Yo-won crushed the neck of the man. Crack! Quack! Chun Yo-won threw the corpse to the floor. And then, he pointed his finger at Chun Woo-jin. Shoo! Miraculously, the ropes around Chun Woo-jin loosened. What amazing power! Chun Woo-jin was surprised. It was the first time he had seen a person control their energy like that. At first, he thought that this man was a member of the cult, but it was his first time seeing such a young face. Well, I got help. That's what matters. It was right to say thank you. Thank you for the help. Chun Woo-jin greeted him. Chun Yo-won clicked his tongue at the sight. TCH, I was thinking of punishing you, but it would be hard if you act like that. Chun Woo-jin frowned at Chun Yo-won's words. At first glance, it was as if an adult was scolding a child. Calling it cult means that he has to be someone related to the cult, but how can he act this rude? He is the Lord said to be the strongest in the Sky Demon Order. No one in the cult would utter such words in front of him. Do you know who you are speaking to? Chun Woo-jin asked politely. After losing his power for 27 years, he gained patience. If you are related to the main cult then. You shared the secret with the Great Guardian, but I guess you aren't very smart. Great Guardian? A secret with the Great Guardian? The secret he shared with the Great Guardian was related to the Sky Demon Order. Chun Woo-jin's puzzled eyes shot wide. Memories flashed through his mind. He may appear in your time according to the prophecy, was what the former Lord said. A secret that was passed down from the 25th Lord of the cult to each Lord. A prophecy that each generation was waiting for it. He forgot about it as he was in prison for 27 years. And Noah. You are so quick at remembering. Chun Woo-jin's eyes turned red. Unable to believe it, he said. How? How can this happen? The demon god they heard about in legends was standing right in front of his eyes. Chun Wu-jin hurriedly fell to the floor. Chun Wu-jin greets the legend of the great sky demon Ord. Whoa. However, the energy around lifted him up. Why? We are busy, so let's do that later. As soon as Chen Yuan said that, someone fell from the ceiling. Tack. A woman with purple hair, dressed in a tight leather suit, landed on the floor very lightly. She was Shakina. Phew, master. I dealt with the others as instructed. You didn't eat anyone, right? Like you said, I only made their hearts stop. None of them looked appetizing anyway. After tasting the heart of a superior master, the other hearts didn't seem that tasty anymore. Shakina was the one who stopped the people in the control room and killed them. Chun Wu-jin, who couldn't understand it, asked. Ancestor, that woman? Ignoring the question, Chen Yuan gave new instructions to Shakina. Move him. Yes, yes. Shakina approached Chun Wu-jin. She then embraced the old man, who had a bigger build than her. What are you? At Chun Wu-jin's bewilderment, she asked. You can hold your breath, right? Human. What do you? Whoa. At that moment, their bodies turned purple and went into the floor. Once they disappeared into the floor, as if diving into the sea, Chen Yuan widened the distance. Whoa. And a huge amount of sword chi was raised in his hand. Would this much be enough? Chen Yuan used the sword chi and then began to unfold technique. Around 1915. The atmosphere around the judicial prison was chaotic. If the death penalty had been carried out, the warden would have come out and given a statement, but that didn't happen. Isn't it taking too long? Did something happen inside? The whispering of the present reporters grew louder. Please step back. The execution isn't done yet. The military guards in the front line warned the reporters to not come close. I don't get it. What kind of sentence takes an hour to execute? Aren't you just trying to hide what happened? As one person asked, all reporters began to bombard the military with questions. And with that, the atmosphere outside the prison turned chaotic. Swoosh! Right then, a group of men in suits appeared in front of the judicial prison. When the military people saw the man in the middle, they couldn't hide their shock. Oh Taechung. The man was the head of the Ministry of Murim, and next to him were several Murim Association executives, including Zhang Pyonggak and Tang Moon-soo. And 5 more executives of the association. Oh Taechung spoke to the military blocking the entrance. We need to go inside. The execution isn't over yet. Oh Taechung asked in a daunting voice. Does it make sense for an execution to take this long? That. The military guards had no way of knowing what was going on inside. They only took the orders from the judicial head and kept guarding the place to make sure no one entered. You know who is being executed, right? We know. The worst criminal that our world has seen. Don't you know that the evil demonic cult wants to break him out? Heavenly God. That is right. And that's why the Murim Association had expressed its intention to help with the security, right? They were speaking loud enough for the reporters to hear. Due to that, it was clear that the judicial system didn't want the Murim inside the prison. This is... Ko Sawun, the captain of this team, was at a loss of how to deal with this situation, and not missing the chance, the aide of Oh Taechung glanced at the reporters and then shouted. What the hell is the prison hiding? Reveal what is going on inside. Whisper. And it was effective. The reporters too began to make similar demands. Oh Taechung addressed himself to the captain of the team and said, I have been watching for a while, are you going to do this till the end? I can't help but think that the Ministry of National Defense, which has signed an alliance with a certain group, has impure intentions. Shit. Captain Ko So-woon bit his lip. There seemed to be no way to stop them. Reporters aren't allowed. Isn't that natural? SH. When the captain raised his hand, the military guards blocking the entrance opened the way. Hoo. Oh Tae-chung smiled at it. He already knew what was going on inside from the executives of the Murim Association. Now, by going inside and turning it upside down through the testimony of the executives he was taking inside, he could be able to corner the defense. Come on. Let's enter. Oh Tae-chung boldly led the executives of the association to enter the prison. However, someone called him. Wait. Oh Tae-chung turned his head to see the voice owner. From the west side of the reporters, a middle-aged man in military uniform appeared along with other officers. The man was On Woo-hong, the head of National Defense. Director On. If something did happen inside, then the Ministry of National Defense, which has been entrusted with the security of the prison, should also investigate. Oh Tae-chung's face went stiff at those words. He didn't expect this man to show up at this time. However, even if the defense joined them, the results wouldn't change. But the faces of the executives of the Murim Association next to him weren't good. What is it? At Oh Tae-chung's question, Jang Pyonggak of the Wudong clan opened his mouth with a puzzled expression. Director. That man is a demonic cult member. What? The person standing next to On Woo-hong was Chun Yo-won. Chapter 110. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Part 4. What? Demonic cult? Oh Tae-chung, the head of the Ministry of Murim, frowned. If this man was a demonic cult member, then isn't he a subordinate of Chun Woo-jin, who was being executed right now? Even more shocked were the executives of the Murim Association. How is he? The Murim Association concentrated all its power on monitoring the cult in Jinan City. It was to confirm if they were coming to Xi'an or not. Weren't we told that no one moved? Clearly, the person who was dispatched to Jinan said that none of the Yongchun Group's executives left the city. So they didn't understand how this man came here. How did this happen? Tang Moon-soo, one of the executives, sent a telepathic message. However, what was the use of asking Jang Pyonggak if he himself didn't know? Oh God. I don't know either. I don't know if they are smart or stupid. Tang Moon-soo clicked his tongue. Now the judicial prison they were going to enter will be overflowing with corpses. This man had just walked into the trap on his own feet. At that time, Oh Tae-chun snorted. He didn't like this, and he never liked the Yongchun Group, who were always trying to make an agreement with the national defense. How dare you? Shoo! Tag Moon-soo grabbed him, however, he didn't stop and kept trying to yell. Director. Please hold back. Oh Tae-chung wasn't well versed in martial arts, but he knew the basics. Knowing that it was the technique to convey thoughts, Oh Tae-chung went silent. Shit. There were a lot of people around. The reporters were already holding their cameras. Oh Tae-chun looked at Tang Moon-soo and the other executives. Maybe this is for the good. This is for the good? That man is a representative of the current demonic cult. The executives of Murim Association kept telling him in detail about the demonic cult and about this man being called Chun Ma. At those words, Oh Tae-chun's eyes narrowed. Representative? So this man was truly a demonic cult member, and he believed it, but if he was a representative, then things are different. That man is the one who attacked the association. If that man is arrested on the spot using the incident in the judicial prison and reported to the media, the process will proceed smoothly. Oh Tae-chung seemed satisfied with Tang Moon-soo's words. With that, we can certainly put pressure on the national defense. Oh Taechung regained his composure and spoke to An Wuhong. The Ministry of National Defense has been entrusted with the security by the judiciary, so it's only natural for you to enter. But you want that young man to accompany you? Oh Taechung asked. Actually, he was still angry and on the verge of yelling at the man who didn't seem to care about anything. An Wuhong answered. Hoo, this is the vice chairman of the Yongchun Group that just signed a contract with the Ministry of National Defense. He is the head of an organization which uses martial arts, just like the Murim Association, so if any problem would emerge, I brought him along to seek advice. Ah, is that so? There are better advisors here, but I don't know why you had to bring him, said Oh Taechung sarcastically. Better advisors? An Wuhong snorted. He witnessed Chen Youwen's monstrous strength with his own eyes, so he had full confidence in him. Well, this man is the most reliable. He. Oh Taechung got annoyed at those words. Let's see how that attitude changes. From the moment they entered the prison, he was sure that An Wuhong would back down. Let's enter. Oh Taechung took the first move and went to the entrance. He was then followed by the secretaries and the executives. Zhang Pyonggak couldn't take his eyes off Chen Youwen the entire time. He is a dangerous person. He was very wary of Chen Youwen. He heard from Saint Nogak that the Chun Ma, the demonic cult, meant a warrior who surpassed the lord of the cult, but no one believed it. However, when they came face to face rather than through a hologram, he felt weird. However, all the media is concentrated here, even foreign ones. No matter how evil he is, he won't be able to walk out if he does something wrong. At least, if he wasn't an idiot, he wouldn't do it. If that happens, then their entire plan to resurrect the demonic cult will be blown away. The Murim was a structure which was close to the public and the government. They went inside through the revolving door at the entrance. Click. It was tinted, so the ones on the outside couldn't see anything, and the lights were flickering on and off, as if some electrical problem was happening. They did it right. The executives nodded with a smile. Even when they opened their chi senses, they could feel nothing. Wing. The Ministry of National Defense also went inside. And the executives started to act. Looks like something is wrong. I don't feel anything here. Oh Taechung helped them out. Come on, let's head to the execution site. Director. The execution is in the basement. The secretaries led them down the stairs to the basement. The faces of Oh Taechung and the executives were full of anticipation. They started to get curious as to how the faces of An Wuhang and Chen Youwen would look. As soon as they began to go down, a foul stench of blood hit them. And then dead bodies greeted them. Yuck. The secretaries, who weren't familiar with such situations, covered their noses and frowned. Even knowing about the circumstances before, they couldn't stay calm. What the hell happened here? Looks like someone broke inside. The executives were the first to speak, and Oh Taechung acted with them. The first scene was about to be done. Shoo. The body lying on the front side had sharp scars. To examine it, they wiped the blood stains on the wound with a towel. Zhang Pyonggak's eyes narrowed. The marks had to be from the demonic cult's martial arts. What is this? However, the traces were different from the demonic cults. Tang Munsu urged Zhang Pyonggak, who didn't say his line. What happened? He wanted to urge the man to say that there were traces of the demonic cult's martial arts on the bodies. And then Zhang Pyonggak answered him. We have a problem. Tang Munsu, who thought it was strange, went closer to inspect the wounds. And looked at the corpses. Well, what? He couldn't hide his dismay. As warriors of superior master level, they were knowledgeable. And it was possible for them to guess the killer's martial arts by looking at the scars, but what was on the corpses was not the traces of the demonic cult. This, blade marks. It wasn't just ordinary marks. Tang Munsu also looked at the other corpses. As he looked at the second body and third, his eyes trembled. What the hell is all this? Unless his eyes were deceiving him, the scars were blade techniques. And that was Blade God 6 martial arts. Who said that? As someone said it loudly, Jang Pyonggak and Tang Munsu looked at the person. It was Chen Yuan. Damn it. Tang Munsu couldn't hide this shock at the situation. What Chen Yuan said was the right answer. The sword marks on the body were caused by the Blade God 6 martial clan's technique. How is this even possible? The corpses had traces of that technique. The traces were too apparent to claim that the demonic cult created them. At that moment, O Tae-chen shouted out. No. Doesn't this mean that these traces are of the demonic cult? Jang Pyonggak and Tang Munsu went stiff at that. This was a problem. O Tae-chen hadn't mastered martial arts, and they didn't even tell him what they discovered. So he still claimed that the traces were of the cult. Director. Jang Pyonggak tried to correct him. However, O Tae-chen looked at Chen Yuan and went ahead. I am asking what happened? Why do the bodies of the bailiffs have traces of the demonic cult's martial arts? O Tae-chen's face was showing happy expressions. He was hoping for An Wuhong to be flustered. However, the reaction they had was so far from expected. If I hadn't come here, they would have said that everything was done by the cult. Chen Yuan spoke disappointedly. No. What are you saying? O Tae-chen, unaware of the situation, was about to speak up, but Jang Pyonggak intervened. Director. That isn't demonic call. Swash. Ugh. At that moment, something sharp touched Jang Pyonggak's neck. Blood dripped from his skin, which was a little scratched. A little to the side, and his throat would have been pierced. What are you? Panicked, Jang Pyonggak glared at Chen Yuan and shouted. You have been saying demonic cult till now, but since when was the Sky Demon Order called demonic cult? Demonic cult was a term used to demean the Sky Demon Order. Despite having an official name, people called it cult. Look here. Even if that is the case, this is too much. Tang Munsu stood up and tried to protest. It was to change the topic and cover the mistake that O Tae-chen made. In a stern voice, Chen Yuan said. Is that so, then should I call you the Murim Association? Tang Munsu was speechless for a moment. If he said okay, then it would mean he was intentionally calling it the demonic cult. Wiping the blood from the neck, Jang Pyonggak apologized. I didn't mean to demean the cult. I apologize. I don't need your apologizing, tell the truth. At Chen Yuan's words, Jang Pyonggak bit his lip. A difficult situation would come up if it was revealed that the traces on the corpses were of the Blade 6 clan. If that happens, it won't just be the Blade 6 which will be suspected. However, he couldn't lie in front of Chen Yuan or the Ministry of National Defense. So contemplating, he opened his mouth. Director. These aren't the traces of the Demo Sky Demon Order. Huh? What is that supposed to mean? O Tae-chen's face contorted at it. His eyes were asking, just what the hell happened? What the hell is he trying to say? Tang Munsu looked at Jang Pyonggak with worried eyes. If he said something wrong, then Blade 6 will become the culprits of the incident. Quack. Especially with the Ministry of National Defense. If only the National Defense wasn't here, they would have changed the scars on the corpses. Thinking that their plan was successful, they even brought in another department inside the prison. Jang Pyonggak spoke cautiously. It seems to be a different martial arts, but I think we should officially investigate this with the experts in the association. For now, that was the best way out. Good job. Tang Moonsu praised the man for solving the issue. However, something unexpected happened. I guess the justice-seeking warriors are very political. What? At that moment, Chen Yuan's blade passed through Zhang Pyonggak's shoulder. Slash. The sleeves of his white clothes were soaked red and the severed arm fell down. Quack. Pang Pyonggak screamed as he held on to the cut hand. In response, the other people of the association pulled out their weapons. Shoo! Shoo! What is this? Tang Moonsu yelled at Chen Yuan. Who would have imagined that he would dare do such a thing? Chen Yuan opened his mouth. Everyone here should know that the martial arts of the Blade God 6 martial clan are impossible to learn unless one belonged to the clan. And now you want to give out the results after investigating it? Are the martial arts and enlightenment you gained just for decoration? The martial arts of the Blade God 6 martial clan could only be learned properly when the human body exceeds the limit. Even the warriors who learned the best martial arts could never copy their techniques as their joints and muscles wouldn't withstand it. In response to Chen Yuan remarks, Tang Moonsu spoke. We don't know that. It is just that Blade 6 could never do this, so we are trying to be fair to them so that no one would frame them. Fair? Right. I want to do things fairly. You are very good at making shitty statements. What? Chen Yuan answered him. So when people die with the traces of my cult, the cult is punished right away, but when they die with the traces of the Blade God 6 martial clan, the clan is treated fairly? Tang Moonsu's face distorted at that. He had to calm his emotions and talk, but he wasn't able to. Whoa! It was because of the energy that Chen Yuan was releasing. He was suffocating with the energy spread around. Tang Moonsi barely opened his mouth. What are you releasing the energy for? For this. At that moment, Chen Yuan's sword drew a unique trajectory, passed through various members of the association and then went for O Taechung. Ugh! It happened so fast that O Taechung couldn't do anything but stand bewildered, and the body fell down, into pieces. Tuck 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 tuck. What is that? Tang Moonsu's eyes widened at what he saw. The trajectory which Chen Yuan just unfolded was the technique of the Blade God 6 martial clan,